Welcome back to Tell It Like It Is Tuesdays, where Sophie and Jana are going live with our fireside chat. And for those of you that don't really know, like, what is this fireside chat thing? It's really where we just have a conversation about what we feel is going on in the industry, observations we're having. If you guys want to pop on here live and get involved in the conversation and ask some questions, we're happy to do that as well. But this is just about us showing up as we are and having a conversation because, well, probably like many of you, you probably have some really juicy conversations with some of your fellow coaches and fellow consultants out there. And we do the same. So today we're going to be talking about, in general, we'll be talking about the latest in sales and marketing, what is working and what is not. But I wanted to talk about, because Sophie and I talked about this in the DMs a little bit last week, and that is like, why the gurus are scrambling and what 2025 is bringing in terms of truth, the level of light that's being exposed, light, everything's coming to light, and why, that's really going to impact, especially that sort of fake it till you make it business model, or that wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like, just get on my, email list and hit my tripwires and, along for the ride kind of business model that I think a lot of us, the only one funnel away mentality that people have had for quite a while, which worked. But anyway, enough about me just yapping on. I don't know, Sophie, what do you think about this?
It's a good conversation. I think I've been I've been around this industry for quite some time, and it's just so interesting because little micro shifts happen every so often, right? We see these little micro shifts, but in the last probably year, we've not seen micro shifts. They've been huge. These big shifts that have just kind of taken place. And I think the biggest thing right at the moment is that trust is at an all-time low. And people are asking for less. At the same time, we're feeling the pressure to create more, which is the opposite of what we need to be doing. So I think we're seeing these, to put it the way you worded it, right? We're seeing the gurus scrambling and they're throwing more and more content in the world. But the ones that are actually working, if you actually cut through what they're doing and you look at their messaging, it is incredibly simple. And what they're offering is a lot less than what they maybe once did. The ones that aren't working are the ones that haven't caught up with that. So we're kind of seeing this new shift where it's keeping everything super simple and down to this really human level, which is a really kind of nice thing at this point. Like, yay! It's much more authentic than it has been in the past. Like, gone are the days where you can go rent a Ferrari. I mean, you could still do this, and we still see it happening. You can rent the Ferrari and go and sit in the 5-star mansion that you just rented. And like, look at my five.
Yeah.
But it's not working the same way that it maybe once did, right? Versus now it's like, no, people want real. Like, some of the best marketing I've seen recently that seems to be really working is people on the streets. And I mean, people just literally talking to everyday people on the streets with a mission, human to human. And it's like their socials are just going so wild, but then it's driving through to really simple sales systems. So it's kind of this less is more, and then more content, cleaner message, if that sort of makes sense.
It does. And, I'm just thinking about like the people that are watching like these reaction videos, right? Like people watching other people react to videos is like a big thing, which is crazy. But what is it really? They're wanting to watch the humanness of the person. They're wanting to watch the genuine reaction to the thing. And I think if we apply that, then it really helps us understand just the consciousness level that we're at. And people are really just craving like authenticity, being genuine, truth, and just really being transparent more so than ever before. And, from an energetic standpoint, like people know now, like so many people they're clairs, not for lack of a better word. That's, these different like sixth sense sort of powers are starting to come online for people. And just the days of like manipulating people, forcing people, just bullying people on sales calls into, convincing them into their offer it's really becoming a thing of the past. And I'm so here for it. And I know you are too, because, so many of the people I've worked with don't want to do any of that. And I know they felt in the past like, but you kind of have to. This is just how it's done. Whereas now we have the freedom to really, yes, like you said, messaging is so important. Like we really do have to understand how to talk to our ideal client. We have to know what makes them tick. We have to know what their hot buttons are. We have to understand like what they want in not just what they want, but in the way that they would express what they want. But, just the sleaziness and the value stacking, you get all this. Usually it's $100 million, but today it's 997. Like the games and the sliminess. And I think that's why some of these gurus are scrambling, is because they don't know another way. They don't know how to be vulnerable and authentic and real and genuine. They're calculated always.
If you do remember, like, I mean, the old way of selling cars, right? That sort of CD salesman, right? Got this reputation. Like, I'm pretty sure most people can relate when I'm like thinking of the car sales or the used car salesman, right? It got a reputation. And I think the online coaching world has got a reputation of its own too. Like if you start to look at how this online sales came about, like there aren't many other industries. In fact, I don't actually know any other industries that have done it the way the online coaching has done it. And it's a bizarre way. This whole kind of it's this convincing energy, right? I'm going to sell to you. I'm going to sell you this dream that's really probably not actually touchable for a lot of people. Right? You've got this really strange thing that happened. I think people have now shifted and said, well, hold up. This isn't realistic, right? We want the truth. We want the reality. We want to know how we can, as an everyday person, we can make this happen. And so we're seeing kind of these shifts happening. But if you really think about the whole way that online sales has been done in the past, I think what we're really seeing the shift here is from selling to buying. Because if you think about a store, right? It's like if you're going out shopping, you're looking for a sweater or you're looking for whatever it is, a dress or whatever. You walk into a store with the intention of finding the thing that's going to fit you the best and buying it, right? But what you don't see, I mean, I guess you do in some markets, and you expect to go to a market with people like, throwing dresses at you. But the coaching industry is almost like everybody competing for, no, this dress, it doesn't really fit you properly. That's okay. We're going to squeeze you into it. We're going to make it fit. And it's this kind of pushing, convincing energy that, no, this is the only dress that you can wear. Like, don't even go in this store. Don't go in that one. Like, this is the dress. And I think what we're seeing now is this shift where people saying, actually, no, I'm going to take a look at your store window, right? I'm going to take a look at your storefront. I'm going to come in your store, which will be your socials. I'm going to come in. I'm going to take a look around, look at your videos, going to feel for the vibe, feel what you're all about. And then I'm going to make a decision based on what you're putting out. Do I want to buy this? Is this right, the fit for me? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we're kind of, maybe not for everyone, but I know certainly that's how you and I have done it, right? We've structured this as a very much we're not going to sell to you. This is here's what's on offer. Do you want to buy it? Which is a very different feeling. And I think the thing that, especially for a lot of women, I've noticed, it's really off-putting when you walk into that environment and it's that hard pressure sale. It kind of makes me think of those, timeshares. Come sit down an hour and you are not leaving. And right? So I think so many, especially women, are like, I'm not even walking into that sales call because I know that I'm going to be pressured in to something I don't want to buy.
Right. It's really, I think so many buyers have become more educated around. I certainly know that this happened for me. We talked about this before too. Like you're not going to tell me what I need. I know enough to know what I need, and I'm going to go find the person that's going to give me what I need in order to help my business grow, instead of you putting on this circus act and telling me that I'm missing everything. And this is the secret magic super sauce that nobody else is telling you, and creating this whole big hoopla circus show. And then, convincing you that this is the only way to do it versus no. Like, I know last year I invested in learning how to speak on live stages. Like, I wanted to learn that process. And that's what I did. I researched people in that space. And, I didn't buy actually the biggest gurus thing because I also got tired of being in some spaces where, you're one of 100 people, 200 people, and you don't get the feedback and the support that you want, especially when it's something like you need the back and forth. And so I think that a lot of my clients and community is more, I'm not trying to get something that's going to get me from A to Z. I now know that doesn't exist anymore. I need the person that specializes in like D, E, and F. That's what I need, if that makes sense.
Base. Yeah, totally. I think it's coming back around again to we don't live in an age now where we can really sell information the way we once could. Right? People aren't buying information. We've got AI. We've got things that are way more advanced than Google now. Well, maybe not completely, but we can get information. In fact, you can just go follow people or give it for free at this point. But so it has to be this experience based. The problem is, I think that's where a lot of the trust is coming in, because there's so many people still selling information. It's still this information with the no support and all of the extra pieces. And I think, this is a conversation I know we've had too, but the whole pricing debate, right, in the coaching industry, right? There's this strange thing. What happens? Well, I'm charged $10,000 because I want to, because that's what I'm worth. It's like, what does that actually mean? Right. I think this concept of charging your worth is a really bizarre thing, which is actually stopping people from actually getting out there and making the sales, and making the sales they want to make as well, because they get stuck on this price point of, well, I'm worth this. And are we all, any of us worth a number? No, right? But now it's not a case of, and I think so many people have been burnt because they're paying high ticket prices for something that somebody decided to slap a price on and say, well, this is worth this because that's what I'm worth, versus actually looking at, well, what's the actual value of not the program itself, but the result that the person is going to get from the other side of the program. Yes. Can you actually put a price on that? And I know for a lot of the people that you and I work with, Jana, there's a little bit of a, yeah, but my result's not tangible. Right? It's like, it's not tangible because my person feels, my client feels peace, or they feel freedom, or and it's like, exactly, you can't maybe not put a price on that, or can you? Right? What is that worth to the actual person? What can they do with that on the other side of it? Like, if someone is feeling more peace and more freedom, what is that? What are they going to do with it? Right? You can put a price on that. So it's a really interesting, I think, can of worms that the whole industry opened up for a long time, and now we're sort of seeing the repercussions of that. And I think it comes down to trust again. People are just at an all-time low.
It really does, and which I know you and I are like, great, because what you see is what you get, and we're not afraid to have very candid, real conversations. But for those that thought they were going to hide behind, their content forever in a VSL and not have to actually really, truly interact and be human to human with somebody, I can see why they're sweating it, because it is a very different way of being. And so, your messaging and what you do and effective communication, sales are going to be more important than ever. Not in the salesy, weird kind of like that way, but just in a, how can I have a conversation with somebody to see if it's a good fit? And I truly believe, this whole, we're just going to herd people all over the internet with the digital stuff. It's not that it will ever come to an end. It's not that. I mean, I think low ticket has its place, especially if somebody's trying to get to know like your content and how you work and what you're all about. And, but people are looking for a different level of support. And like I said, that back and forth piece, I think, is just so important now. And they're educated. Like, I would not fall for anybody anymore. I did when I came in the space, but I would not fall for the whole, like, you get it all. We do it all, and So it's just a matter of, in my mind now more than ever, it's paving the way for the conscious entrepreneurs, the ones that are more here for the right reasons, that do want to do the transformation. And, the price tag comes in not because of your worth, because you're priceless, but it's the transformation and the result that you're offering that client,
100%.
and what is that worth to them? And, if my program's 25K, 10K, whatever, but yet I can produce for you a process where you can start enrolling 10K clients consistently, then what is that worth? Because you're investing in a skill set that it's the gift that keeps on giving. But then you also have to quantify it in other ways, like your health. Because here's the thing for anybody that's listening and is like, oh, but that's right, Jana, like money's so much easier to do that with. Well, what good is a program that can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you only have 6 months to live? So at the end, or is it worth losing your marriage over? I mean, like, these things are higher level of importance for most people out there.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a huge opportunity here as well, because I think a lot of really impact-driven people have shied away from sales and marketing for all the reasons we've described, right? Don't want to feel into that manipulative energy of, I have to, coerce people into buying my thing on the internet, which is the cycle that we're here breaking. Right?
yes.
You don't have to do that. Please don't do that. But we do, I think, we see this all the time, right? We see people come in and they've got amazing, the work they do is incredible, but yet they're left feeling like the internet's best kept secret, sitting there going, well, I feel like, no, I don't have enough visibility, or maybe the leads are coming in, they're not converting, or maybe they are converting, but they know that they're meant for more, they can do other things. And yet they're left with this, okay, but what do I do? Because the only pathway I see forward is to go this big, ugly, coercive route that feels really gross. And I think a lot of people tend to put their brakes on at that point because they don't want to lean in and lead into that. And I think that's the cool part. And I think there's an opportunity here because people, not only now is this shifting, but people don't want that anymore either. So there's this open door now to be more authentic and to be more, but this is what I actually do. I'm leading from this heart-centered place, and I'm not here to push you into something you don't want to buy. So I think we need more heart-centered, impact-driven people to rise to the occasion. We need them to break through those personal barriers that say, oh my gosh, this is big and this is scary, and I don't think I can do X, Y, and Z, because we need them to replace those people who are literally just littering the internet with garbage. Just garbage.
Well, and that's exactly it. We need people who are willing to be truthful and honest, and not, I just couldn't do it. And I know you couldn't either. I could not put a post out that says, I made $1 million yesterday if I didn't make $1 million yesterday. Like, it's not in me. And now that that's coming to an end, I'm sure it will thrash and gnarl its way out the door, but that leaves it open for people to be honest, like, okay, yeah, I didn't make $1 million yesterday, but 2024 was the best year of my business. Here's what I did. You know what I mean? And be honest and truthful and not misleading and with jets and all of this crap, because people are picking up on it now.
And I think there's a lot other, I talk about this quite a lot, but we see this not just, for some of these people, they're actually telling the truth, right? A good chunk of them aren't.
That's true.
Some of them are, but it's not accurate the way they've put the information out, right? It's missing pieces. And I remember when I first got into the industry, seeing people being like, I just have my first 50K a month, or I make 100K a month, or whatever. And I was just like, what? That's a thing? That's possible? Like, you can do that? And it took me an embarrassingly long time to clue into how they were doing that. And it didn't register that wasn't just like, for the vast majority of those people, that wasn't $100,000 in brand new cash sales every month. Like,
Right.
that just didn't register, and nobody was talking about that. Nobody was talking about the fact that a good vast, good chunk of those sales were coming in recurring revenue or from existing clients, or they were sales, not cash collected. And there was all of these pieces to it that I was going, oh. And once I clued into that, I had to remind myself of that continuously until I saw it and I was like, yeah, but right, okay. Until I really fully understood the mechanics behind that messaging. And I think that flash messaging is so incredibly misleading. And
It
I think
is.
that's where the issue comes in as well. And so we've got this big chunk of people who are just making up numbers and throwing them out, right? And then you've got on the flip side of that, you've got some people who those numbers are true,
Right.
but how are those numbers true? Like, can you break it down? And I think this is where the consumer gets to take some responsibility for the questions that we ask. I don't know about you, Jana, but I've bought into a lot of programs where in the past I haven't asked questions. I've just kind of naively gone, yeah, cool, this sounds great. And I've walked in and I've gone, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting. And now it's, as you've just described before, it's like I knew that I wanted to be, to learn how to speak, right? I wanted to learn how to speak in a certain way. Therefore, I did my research and I picked the person who was going to fulfill that need. And I think that's so important to know, what skill set am I going to be learning from this? And it's not just about the information, because we can get the information, right? I'll tell you how to build a 6-figure business right here, right there, right here, right now, right? Go into ChatGPT and ask the question, how to build a 6-figure coaching business. It'll give you step by step, right? Just saved you thousands of dollars. But now it's like, okay, what skill sets do I need to build, or what's that next piece? And then narrowing it down and then asking the questions. Right? I think that's a big thing. If you can reach out to a coach or a service provider or whoever and ask specific questions about what their program does, what it doesn't do, who it's for, who it's not, and they can't answer those questions, you're going to run into some problems. Like, transparency, I think, has to go all the way through.
1,000%. The whole who's this for, who's this not for has never been more important.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's important to put those disclaimers out there, because everybody makes it sound like it happened overnight. And I just did a reel recently and I was like, people think that I had overnight success. And if that's the case, then it was a really long night. And so, like, even when I had really successful launches last year, like, it wasn't overnight. Like, there was a process and there was a momentum and there was, a behind the scenes thing going on that, yes, I had the skill sets to execute it properly, but it's not just, oh yeah, I just plugged A and just get my secret strategy and all your dreams will come true. And I think that that's what I'm so thrilled to be moving away from, because for those of us not willing to play in that space, it's been challenging. Because you and I could have easily gotten on and said, yes, I will show you how to make $1 million tomorrow. Who's ready? Never have to do any work. And sadly, people will be like, me. And I'm just hoping that we're all growing a little bit to realize, like, let me think through this. Is this how life actually is? Like, is it like, no, just all play and easy and never have to put in like any work in order to get what I want? Or is that an illusion? And I think that people are feeling that. And now it'll just make it easier, whether it's the healers out there, coaches, whatever, in any of the different spaces, to shine, because people are craving truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is a big difference. I mean, I've been in both spaces, but I've been in spaces where there's been people that are questionable in those spaces who are selling the regurgitated information, right? It's like, well, I'm selling this because I learned this from my coach, and then I learned this from their coach, and it goes down and down, and then it's like, okay, what experience do you have in this? Like, who have you helped do this? Oh, no one. Okay, cool. But then on the flip side, I've also been in spaces where people are highly, highly, highly qualified and they're not owning that.
Yes.
That's you get these, and And that's what I want. I want more people who have the real experience to be owning what they truly do, and also not chasing what they think. Because I know you've seen this as well, but we'll see people who are really brilliant at what they do. They've got tons of experience. They really know how to make an impact. But then they see the shiny dollars from the sales and marketing and they go, I'm going to do that instead. And it's like, well, hold up. Do you maybe think that the people who are making it and doing well in sales and marketing are doing well in sales and marketing because they're actually good at selling and marketing?
Right.
But I would argue that you actually get you make vast attraction if you can apply the sales and marketing to what you are really good at and what you are really brilliant at. And so I think we've got these two ends of the spectrum, so to speak. And I actually remember a conversation that you and I had when we first met around this. And when you weren't fully, I'm going to throw you under the bus just a little bit here, Jana, fully stepping in and owning your sales genius. And I remember a conversation we had and you were saying, yeah, but, I haven't really sold, hundreds of thousands in this industry yet, right? Yet. This was, not that things have changed since then, but, at this point you're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I remember asking and saying, how much have you sold? And then you were talking about, your previous sales experience and the millions of dollars that you'd sold. And then I remember just being almost falling off my chair. I said, Jana, how many sales calls have you taken? What was it, like 40,000 or something?
Yeah, in around roughly.
I'm sitting here going, hold up. Like you're not owning this because you haven't, sold $100,000 in sales and coaching yet. So I think this is sometimes where the transference comes in as well, right? It's like we need more people to own what they've done and tell those transparent stories. And I know personally, and if I was going to hire a sales coach, I would much rather hire somebody who has real sales experience, not just in the coaching industry, but in the world.
Right. And I still, I'm going to throw myself under the bus even more. Like I still don't feel like I have fully owned it because I've lived it so long that it has become unconscious competence. And I think so many of us in our genius zone, it's so easy and it comes so naturally and you've done it so much that you don't even know how special it is. And so it's beautiful though, like when you can work with people that can help draw it out of you, because it's not even like, I'm like, is it a self-worth? It's not even a self-worth. It's like a truly not don't know what you don't know about your abilities because it's always come so easy to you. And so, yes, like to go back to what you were saying before, it breaks my heart when people step outside of, their true passion, their calling, their gifts, because they think, oh, well, this is going to be easier, or I have to do it like that. I mean, to me, outside of knowing how to communicate about your gifts in a way that your ideal client can understand it and understanding how to walk them through a decision-making process, outside of that, you shouldn't have to, mold or do anything with your gifts. It's just the disconnect isn't changing the gifts. The disconnect is learning how to effectively speak about them in a way that resonates with your ideal client. 100%. And that's what most people aren't focused on enough. They're like, I got to get the other thing right. And I got to get the content right. And I got to do these other, but really it's the clarity to be able to speak to it. And yeah, I mean, I'm still continuously working on understanding that.
And do you think part of that though is because, we've so many of us have been conditioned to feel like it has to be hard. And I think there's this really interesting dichotomy that exists, because there is no question that getting to this point is hard. Like it's hard work, but it's not that I think there's this, at least this was something I kind of grew up with, is that hard had to feel difficult in a way that didn't feel good. It couldn't be fun. It couldn't be easy and hard at the same time. And so I think a lot of the time there's this resistance we put in the way. It's like, okay, well, this feels too easy. Therefore, this isn't hard enough work, and therefore it won't land what I want it to do. And it's like, well, actually, what if, And I think so these get mixed up a lot. Whereas I think one thing I've really learned into is that let it be easy. Right?
Yes.
Let it be easy. It's not that it's not hard work. So I really don't want to confuse this message here, because there's a lot of work involved, right? Like I know for a fact that you and I do not sit around doing nothing all day.
Right.
Now, once, when we can get to a point of being not in our business, but in a different realm of it, maybe it'll look different. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But there's a lot of work that is involved. So I don't want to mix that message up, but it doesn't feel like hard work.
Right.
It feels easy once you get in that zone of just allowing for your gifts to do their job, right? And I think, as you said, it's about being able to take those, package them, and then market and sell them in a really authentic way. I don't actually remember the last time I sold anything, because it doesn't feel like selling anymore. It's really simple. It's like, okay, I think this comes in. It's like when you know what your gifts are, what you can do, how you can help people, and how you can create and really package those offers. When you're having a conversation and you can obviously solve a problem, it's really simple. Hey, I can help you solve that. Cool. How? Here. Done.
Right.
Where do I
Do you want
sign?
to
Right?
solve it? Yes or no?
Exactly. Like, it's such a different conversation. But yeah, I do remember, I'm just going back a second. I do remember how terrified I used to be of, number one, putting myself out there in the marketing realm. Like that, I remember shaking in my boots. Like, I can't do this. I can't be visible. And then on top of that, once I got comfortable in that actual selling piece was like, oh no, this is ugly. This is uncomfortable.
For sure. And it's really, so some of it feels uncomfortable, not even from the sleaze. Like some of it is just the reason you don't like it is because it is gross. But there's also pieces like my clients, it's like, oh, follow up, and it's like, but that is just a perspective. That's just your perception of it because of, whatever conditioning you have around that piece of it. But once you understand how to do it in like a non-creepy, like harassing way, like it actually feels like a courtesy. People are like, oh gosh, thank you. I totally, so glad you reached out. And, you also can operate with like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So why not just friendly remind people? And, people get so wrapped up about that. So while on one hand, yes, there is sleazy, obnoxious, harassing sales, there's also very much, and I know this has been hijacked as well by the bro industry, but there is a service aspect to it. There is a very intentional, like not self-serving, non-egoic way to go about this. And what's really interesting is it all comes and it stems from non-attachment. And it's one of those things that, the bro place does not understand. Like they are like, this is how much I close this, put up the numbers, high five. And, there's an entirely different way to look at that. And when you come from that place of non-attachment, it is really interesting. My clients have quote unquote what you would classify as sales conversations, but they really do just feel like an actual discovery conversation and a buying conversation, right? It's no longer, there's nothing convincing about it. It's like, tell me what's going on. And you're like, and it's like, oh, I definitely can help with that. You want help, and it's no longer whatever that whole sales like baggage that people think it is. And the more, to anyone that's listening, if you can get on board with that and see sales as really truly serving, and when you're in your heart and not making it about you, and really like you said, you wanted to do this thing, you want this thing, I have it. If you want it, it transforms the whole thing, and you're no longer having to stand in your own way, because most of it is either an old way that's outdated or your own perception of what you think it's supposed to be when it's not.
Yeah.
I think this makes sense.
Well, this goes back to the original conversation, right? I think if we look at the messaging around these bro marketers, for lack of a better term, it's it's all attached to money, right? It's
All of it.
all the money. Make this much money, make that much money, close 10K, close 100K, it's all about the money. And therefore, I think a lot of sales has been attached to this idea of you got to get the sale. Like it's this aggressive, like you got to close the sale, you got to close the sale, right? You got to badger them through, you got to overcome those objections.
Don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, all of that, right? Don't let them off the call until they had your credit card or whatever.
ABC. Yeah.
Follow that, you get it, right? But it's like if you just release all of that, right? It's like and I think that whole message is just such a toxic message that so many people have come into this industry thinking they have to do. No wonder there's so many people running scared from this, right? Because it's like if you just release all of that, release the money, release the process, release everything. And it's like we are literally on a call. We are going to sit here. We are going to chat. We are going to figure it out. It's like, I know what my gifts are. I know what my program is. I have this amazing offer and we're just going to figure out if it's a great fit. And guess what? The money's going to come.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, what? I could actually market and sell without telling everyone I just made $1 million or whatever it is.
Yeah. And the secret well, first off, I have to say my daughter's on here. Hi, Jocelyn. I love you. And then, I just have to say it was so funny. I won't say who, because I'm not going to be like that. But, there's other people in the space that we've been speaking about that are like, take what you think you know about sales and forget it. We're going to teach you a whole new way. And it's like, but actually they don't. It's still the same thing. Again, it's not, nobody's talking about like truly serving. It's still self-serving. It's still a lot of the smoke and mirrors and the pieces. And I just had to say that because, you're talking about the whole, like, forget about what you think you know, but that is really it. Like, if you look at, I teach a lot from Power versus Force from Dr. Hawkins around, if you really do truly step into your heart and you truly understand how to remain unattached. And, it is a process to learn. It's easier said than done, but you can learn how to have non-ego based sales conversations. And the kicker is then it's really not even about what you say. Everybody's like, I've got my script, I'm good. Are you? Because it's not about what you say. It's about who you are and the energy you show up in. And when you can do that in a way that, again, coming back to what you do with the message, like deeply resonates with them, with that clarity, that's it. I mean, those are the pieces. And so
it is. And I think at the end of the day, right? And this is, where I teach marketing a little bit backwards in so much as I always say sales comes before marketing, because the sales is the foundation of your marketing, because you have to understand the sales process to really effectively market. Because if your marketing is done really well, it will pre-sell your people. In fact, it will bring people in who are already sold. So I like to look at them, some love marketing for sales. I'm like, sales for marketing. But I think if you look at both of them, it's really about human behavior at the end of the day. And it goes so much deeper than just pick a niche, follow the script, right? If it were that easy, right? If it were that easy. So it's really, I think, so much about understanding human behavior, right? How does somebody buy? How does somebody move through their journey? How does somebody, come through the sales process, read through marketing? So I think right from the get-go, right from the very beginning, we have this opportunity now to be, I think, pepper in authenticity into the sales process. I think if we take the actual bones of what the guru marketing is, that isn't going anywhere, right? That funnel, that flow still works, right? And that is actually interesting to look at, because a lot of the gurus, so to speak, who have caught up and are thriving in this sort of new wave of how to do things, have actually taken the exact same frameworks and applied deeper, newer messaging to it. Right? They've applied this different thing to the same system. And so I think if we just take all of that and say, okay, now how do we do this in a more authentic way? How do we, apply that human psychology, that buying behavior through that marketing process, through the messaging, through the sales process, and make it authentic? because that's the biggest thing at the end of the day, right? It's like people want truth, they want authenticity, they want real people. And I think this goes back since, day of, I don't know, whenever they were selling papers on the street. It's at the end of the day, people buy people, right? People, and I tell my clients this all the time, right? It's like people buy from people, or people buy people, then they buy feelings, and then they buy things. The problem is so many people are leading with a thing. Buy my thing, pick me, buy my thing. It's like, no, people buy people. So this is a really, I think, amazing opportunity for people to actually say, hey, I'm real, I'm human, especially in a day of AI, right? That's a conversation for another day, and we'll get into that next one. We'll get into that. But this is not the time to be relying on letting can't see myself there. See,
Okay, that was funny. You're frozen.
like Facebook messages or whatever.
You are way, I think your internet is going, Sophie. Are you with us? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it because we're going to have, are you there? Okay. So, I mean, here's what you're going to be getting from us. Like every other Tuesday. Oh, wait, you can hear me. I can hear you. I was just going to bring it home. Okay. So, what do you guys want to hear about? Like, we want to talk about the state of the union in terms of sales and marketing right now online. She's back. We want to know, like, what conversations do you want us to have about this? What observations, get in the conversation. What observations are you seeing out there? Like, where are you? Most importantly, we haven't mentioned, like, some of these things are just intuitively inside me. Nobody's told me. I haven't pulled open. Oh my gosh, I'm totally dating myself. I was going to say the USA Today newspaper. And it's like, this is the news, but these are the things, like, if I look at, like, spiritually, energetically, in all of these and just the way people are showing up and the way I'm interacting and all of this together with the intuition, this is where it's headed. And it's really good news. It's really good news. And now more than ever, it's like, stay in your zone, develop and understand your gifts and how to communicate about it, and really understand then how to relate and carry on a conversation with somebody else that ends in a sale or not. And that's okay too. But, we make it a lot, like Sophie was saying, it's so much harder than it has to be. But we're here for it. Like, we want to talk about these things. We want to know what you guys are experiencing, and we want to answer questions. So, I hope you will join us every other Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern time, where we're going to have a fireside chat. And it's just going to be very, what's the word I'm looking for, Sophie? Like, informal, right?
Casual conversations.
Yeah. And so, so ask your questions, pop in, come, and who knows, maybe I can even bring you on. I don't know. I hadn't tried that, but we want to have this conversation with you. We want to be on the cutting edge of what we feel is happening based on our observations and intuitively, because I think that things are changing quite drastically. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up here, Sophie?
No, I think we've covered a lot, right? But I think at the end
as always,
I know for me, it's really about, getting more money into the hands of good people.
Yeah.
It's really about consciousness and really about shifting the balance and getting, good people do good things with money, period.
Yes. And that is, yes. And there's something you said that I wanted to say, and it is, people need you. I mean, this planet, there's so many people that need healing. There's so many people that need the mindset work. There's so many people waking up and asking questions and wanting to understand themselves at a deeper level. Like, it is so primed for what a lot of the healers and the white light workers and the coaches and the mindset, for what you have. So in my mind, when it comes to the consciousness and where we're headed, the future's bright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All
it
right,
is.
guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye for now.